Hello, everybody, and well, I guess welcome to back to my channel, and yeah, yeah, I'm just gonna give some, just thoughts about the previous episode and all that, just talk about some things that I didn't talk about or missed, and as well as some things that I have learned about the historical events that I learned afterwards and all that. So yeah, I've done some research and all that. I have checked out a documentary about the life of Benjamin Franklin. Because I haven't finished the whole documentary, so I don't really. Uh, hmm. So I don't, haven't, don't know all the facts yet, but yeah, um, this
Why I hate Benjamin Franklin? Okay, yes, he helped discover electricity and was an influential figure throughout history, blah, blah, blah. But he actually did something that, in my opinion, is one of the worst things a human has ever done. So if you were to Google why Ben Franklin was a bad person, you would see things like he cheated on his wife, or he owned slaves, or he was part of the Hellfire Club, which was accused of performing satanic rituals. And while all of those things are terrible, there's one thing he did which is worse than all of them. He was the first man to suggest
daylight savings. He's gonna say daylight savings.
Yes, daylight savings time in a letter saying they should wake up earlier in the summer.
Okay, yep. That's what it is. Uh, yeah, so yeah, I learned a bit about Benjamin Franklin, but also, one day while I was visiting my grandma, because I said I was getting a bit bad, I read an article in a magazine. The fact this is the magazine right here. It's the name of it, and some interesting articles about. Well, actually, it was two articles. One was about actually three. One's this was about the sons of liberty. The other was about the lesser known daughters of liberty. And the third one was about the Boston Tea Party. So yeah, I think I might just read that to you. Hmm. Also, I recorded a video of a interesting conversation there. I'll talk about that video when I just record my reaction to episode 2. Because the main focus of this video here is, just to, give some more information about the Boston Tea Party, as well as a little bit about Benjamin Franklin. So let's go through the video and just go through the topics here. Okay, so right, first things first is about the daughter author here. Uh, hmm. Yeah. So basically, here it's kind of treated like the Dartmouth, just got here, and that it's like the only a ship they attacked. However, I mean, the Dartmouth was not the only ship there. Let's like when the Boston Tea Party happened, there were also two other ships, the Beaver and the Eleanor, and also of course, but the Dartmouth was the first of those three ships that got there. In fact, the Dartmouth had actually been there for a few days. But let me read the article here. So, yeah. The town meeting held in Boston on the night of December 16th, 1773, at the old South Meeting House was no ordinary gathering. Such events were a foundation of the political process for Massachusetts and most of the New England colonies. Uh, dang it, okay, that's the way I took the picture. Some lights, reflecting off the page here, so it's a bit hard to read. Yeah, but okay. Most of the New England colonists were with the leaders calling residents together to uh, they can't read that word because the light is reflecting off the page, so I can't read that. If you look closer, you can probably see what I'm talking about. In fact, I'll just show you uh, via the pictures here. Yeah, okay, let's see here. Okay, yeah. Right, so yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can kind of see why I would have some difficulty reading some of this stuff here. Like you can barely tell what it says here. uh, anyway, so let's see. Right. Important political and economic citizens facing the colonies. Okay. Royal authorities had watched these meetings more closely since the 1760s during the opposition to the Stamp Act, as colonial Whigs, anti-royal leaders, had used them to protest British policies they saw as threats to their liberties. This town meeting was a follow-up assembly to previous meetings held in November and was meant to occur in Faneuil Hall. The large turnout, however, required the crowd to move to the more spacious Old South Meeting House. Nearly 5,000 came to discuss as the lost my spot while backing up here. Okay. Yeah. I came to discuss the cities and colonies' responses to a new tax on tea and, more directly, the ships in the harbor that held tea from the East India Company. The colonial Whigs did not want the cargo unloaded, but the captains of the ships could not leave the harbor with the tea unless they had approval from the governor. So the ships were basically just had to be there because of they had to pay duties for going off. Hmm. So conversely, Governor Thomas Hutchison did not believe he had the authority to allow the ships to leave without unloading the tea. Added to this, Hutchinson was more than frustrated with those who had rejected royal authority over the years. Thus, a legal and theoretical standoff ensued. That night, the people of Boston took the matter into their own hands. On the surface, the Tea Act of 1773 was rooted in helping pay off the debt of the British Empire incurred from its recent global war with France. Also, the revenue raised would pay British officials in the colonies, thus making them more loyal to Parliament and the British Crown. It was one of many parliamentary laws or acts passed to raise revenue in the colonies. Its underlying purpose, however, was to allow Parliament to display its authority to pass laws that were binding on the British colonies. Due to colonial opposition and resistance, many of these acts were repealed. Like its predecessors, the Tea Act sparked an immediate response throughout the colonies. The Tea Act was also seen as a mode for saving a British held company, the British East India Company. Before 1776, the company had to sell its tea in London and was subject to duties. It had collected large quantities of tea in London warehouses and was looking for a way to dispense with it cheaply. The Tea Act allowed the company to sell directly to American ports without paying duties. This also forced American buyers purchase their tea, which was subject to a tax from the East India Company. The good news was the price of tea was reduced because the company no longer had to pay the duties in London. But colonists resisted the notion that Parliament could force them to buy tea from one supplier. Many made a good living off smuggled tea sales, and that they were also required to pay tax on it. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's definitely a bit corrupt in a way. Like, the government is basically, helping a major corporation, sell its tea for cheap uh, uh, and basically, this, like, the colonists do have to pay a tax for it, and but Parliament is basically making it so that the only option for buying tea is from that, and also the the East India Company tea is now a bit cheaper than like smuggled tea because of what because Parliament basically made it easier for that major corporation and all that. I mean, it's basically like if the government were to help out Amazon and all that. In fact, as Amazon is as a good equivalent here because I mean it is a major corporation that owns a bunch of stuff and owns transport vessels to move this stuff, which people can order and all that. So yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can definitely see why, a lot of people would have a bit of a problem with all that. Okay. The popular refrain of taxation without representation had been around since the 1750s and became well known in 1764 in response to the highly unpopular Sugar Act and the 1765 Stamp Act. Colonial Whigs believed they had no representation in Parliament because they did not elect representatives to Parliament. British political theory and law believed in the motto of virtual representation. Oh, which meant that although the colonists did not vote for individual members of Parliament, the body as a whole acted in the best interest of its subjects. Colonial leaders who for decades were allowed to vote for their representative bodies in their respective colonies did not accept this theory. the opposing views on representation began to open opposition to British authority over colonial matters. Though passed in May 1773, the Tea Act did not impact the people in the colonies until fall. 7 ships of tea were sent to 4 American ports: Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Charleston. Meanwhile, colonial Whig leaders began to organize a resistance to the East India tea that was en route. In fact, in every other city but Boston, the tea was refused and was either forced to return to England or confiscated by local officials. It was in Boston that a determined governor and a history of opposition to the monarchy led to a singular event in American history. So, yeah, I guess you could say that the whole Boston Tea Party is all Governor Hutchinson's fault. On November 28th, the Dartmouth arrived loaded with tea in Boston Harbor. So, yeah, this is a good person that says this episode takes place on the 28th of November. I was gotta say, definitely seems a bit cold and all that. Well, I've never been to Boston in the fall. And then I remember that one song. But yeah. I gotta say, it definitely seems a bit chilly and all that. Yeah, man. And now, no, that song's definitely stuck in my head. I think I might play it at the end of this video here, just for the fun of it. But yeah. So yeah, on November 28th, the Dartmouth arrived loaded with tea in Boston Harbor. British law gave ships with imports 20 days to pay the duties, or the local customs officials could confiscate the cargo. Hutchinson, when petitioned, would not allow the ship to leave port without paying the duty. His sons, who acted as the tea consignees, authorized to receive the tea and see to its distribution for Boston, also refused to back down and resign their positions. Okay. I see. Yeah. Which had happened in other American ports. And soon 2 more ships, the Beaver and Eleanor, arrived with more unwanted tea, unable to return the tea to England and unable to unload the tea to do the threats of local groups such as the Sons of Liberty. The captain of the ships were in a tight and dangerous spot. When the public gathered at the Old South Meeting House that December evening in 1773, they were regaled with speeches by Sam Adams, John Hancock, Joseph Warren, and other Boston Whig leaders, calling for a return of the tea to England. Later in the evening, word came that a last-minute plea to Governor Hutchinson to let the ships return was refused. Sam Adams announced publicly, "This meeting can do nothing further to save the country." The events that happened next have been debated since 1773. Soon after Adams' statement, men arrived outside the meeting house disguised as Mohawk Indians. Like, you can see in this scene right here.
Indians.
Whether or not these men were signaled to move toward the ships of tea is unknown, as they marched down Milk Street to Griffin's Wharf, where the three ships holding tea were docked. The thousands gathered inside the Old South Meeting House began to pour out of the building. Chants of Boston Tea Pot tonight and hurrah for Griffin's Wharf were reportedly heard. Hmm. So, yeah, I don't think we heard that being said in this episode. uh, yeah. Some followed the men in disguise, others continued to protest in the streets, while still others headed home believing that a confrontation was about to take place, which isn't not too surprising considering that this is after the Boston Massacre and all that. So, yeah, it is entirely possible that things could get a bit violent. Mm-hmm. Many details remain unknown about who exactly the Mohawks were that marched on Griffin's Wharf that night. The men used a lamp suit and red ochre to disguise their faces and carried a wide assortment of weapons. As they made their way to the wharf, they yelled and whooped, attempting to imitate Native Americans in a war party. If they had coordinated with the leaders in the Old South Meeting House, it is still known the identities of most of these men either were never recorded or are lost to history. That is how tight into the veil of secrecy was. Coupled with sophisticated organization, as they made their way to the ships, the Whig leaders inside the Old South Meeting House stayed behind and were never directly part of what happened next. So, yeah, basically, Sam Adams being here is a bit historically inaccurate and all that. Since I mean he wouldn't be here since the leaders would stayed behind. Hmm. And the men, with the crowd behind them, approached the wharf. They were divided into three groups, one each for the Dartmouth, Beaver, and Eleanor. Having lived and worked in a port city, most of the men knew where to find the cargo and they were looking for, and how to operate a ship. Thus, most of the other cargo and private property on the ships was not touched. They were only after the tea. After the chests were hauled onto the deck, they were broken open and dumped into the harbor. Some of the men watched to make sure no one tried to steal any of the tea being dumped. The approximately 150 men worked quickly as the crowd of spectators grew. So another detail is that as far as I can see, there's no large crowd of spare. Okay. Yeah, there's no large crowd of spectators outside. Like there would be a large crowd of spectators here, so that's very inaccurate and all that. Uh, okay. Ultimately, some 340 chests of tea weighing 92,000 pounds were destroyed that December night. The British East India Company reported the lost cargo was worth 9,659 British pounds. Pounds is in the currency, in case you didn't realize. The equivalent of 1,700,000 in today's dollars, so that's a pretty hefty loss. A fourth tea ship bound for Boston that had run aground near Cape Cod had its cargo salvaged, taxed, and sold privately. When the Sons of Liberty discovered the warehouse, where the tea was being stored the following March, they destroyed it. Too. Learning that was ready for sale at a Boston shop, they again donned the Mohawk garb to break in and dump the last vestiges of the shipment in the harbor. Meanwhile, the ships bound for New York and Philadelphia returned to London without offloading their cargo, although the tea ship that arrived in Charleston met its own dramatic fate. The American Revolution did not just happen, it was the culmination of various events and acts that individually did not guarantee. Okay, so that's basically where it where it basically ends in regards to the Boston Tea Party. And let's see, what time do we got? Okay. Okay, now I might read the article about the sense of liberty here. Actually, in fact, I think I'll do that right now. Right. So, let's see. Who were the Sons of Liberty? Among the social and political fallout of the French Indian War was the rise of a secret society that set the stage for revolution. The British Parliament nationalized that the fighting in not nationalized, rationalized. Sorry. Okay. The British Parliament rationalized that the fighting in North America had been to protect the colonists and their interests, and thus they should pay their share in taxes to help pay off their war debt. First, the Sugar Act taxed the transport and the sale of raw sugar, molasses, and rum throughout the colonies, spawning smuggling operations. So basically, it's all these taxes that basically, cause the major smuggling industry and all that. So yeah, that's a interesting side effect if you think about it. Meanwhile, via the Quartering Act, Crown soldiers were forcefully housed with American colonists who had to feed them out of pocket. Now, honestly, no, that is, in my opinion, absolutely, just ridiculous. There, that like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, the sugar acts, stamp acts. I mean, that's tolerable, but forcing just just ordinary civilians who house and feed soldiers during peacetime. I mean, that is outright ridiculous. That like, why is there so many armed forces here at peacetime, and you're making us just pay for all that? Like, I mean, just it's absolutely outrageous. So yeah, yeah, you can definitely see why some people would not like that. Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that if something like that would happen in the United States, there would be a lot of protests. In fact, actually, this whole episode kind of well, not this episode, but an event mentioned in this episode, the the Boston is coming. Like the whole fiasco with the ICE Asian agents, shooting a woman in Minnesota. That fiasco, kind of remind me of the Boston Massacre in a way. Yeah, man. Man, history sure does like to repeat itself in the most unpleasant ways. uh, uh, but, yeah, let's see. Right, so as we we're saying, Mounting resentment came to a head over the Stamp Act, which charged for a required stamp on all paper documents, everything from legal documents to newspapers to playing cards. A secret group called the Loyal Nine gathered crowds round the Liberty Tree on Boston Common and provoked them to riot, targeting taxable goods and tax collectors, which put colonial officials at risk of being tarred and feathered or even killed. Raiding the house of Lieutenant Governor Thomas Hutchinson, they made off with an estimated £250,000 worth of his possessions. The Loyal Nine, having sparked resistance, turned to publishing patriotic ideas in the Boston Gazette, eventually signing their missives of political dissent as the Sons of Liberty. The group quickly snowballed into a larger network of resistance, and through coordinated work among various chapters, the Sons of Liberty forced the British Parliament to repeal the Stamp Act. Within the year, dang, I can't read that because the light's signing off of it. Okay, okay. Well, to be honest, that's definitely just that's just a little bit of the article there. How about I read a little bit here where it talks about let's see, Boston Massacre here. Okay. 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 The situation came to a head on the night of March 5th, 1770, when 8 British soldiers guarding the customs house were provoked into opening fire on an angry mob. When the smoke cleared, 5 colonists were dead and another 6 wounded. Despite complete uncertainty about how the incident escalated, Paul Revere, a Boston silversmith in Graver and Sons of Liberty. Damn, man, I'm not the best at taking pictures of articles here. Let me just show you what I'm reading here. Yeah, the page is bent and it's way too shadowy, so I can't read the part of the article here. But yeah, the Sons of Liberty member credited an image of this massacre that fueled anti-crown sentiment by depicting the complete brutality and barbarism of the army. So yeah. So resistance efforts there are many duties on the colonists to ease though high tax until remained, displaying the sense of empty led to Boston, Charleston, and elsewhere. So that's some neat. There's no information there. So yeah. Uh, that's some background, some historical background. Also, let's see here.
I'm not no Indian. None of us are.
You're not.
Right. Oh, yeah. Say there's one scene here. Let's see here. Oh. Yeah. Oh, this image right here. I don't think this is quite accurate. T. I mean, T wouldn't just. The tea leaves wouldn't just be a unbagged pile there and all that. Of course, it actually wouldn't really be in tea bags at that time either, but rather it would be into little cooked bricks of tea and all that. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. 18th century tea brick. Yeah, compressed tea. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, prior to the 19th century, tea was kind of stored like this, then it was kind of made into these little bricks, these things that kind of resemble, chocolate bars in a way. And basically, what you would do is that you would shave them off into your boiled water and all that, and that would be how you would make your tea. So, so the animate is kind of messed up a bit here, since this is not what the crates of tea would look like on the inside.
To start. The Dartmouth! Let's burn it!
Yeah. Now, by the scene. Yeah, this is the one I've been trying to edit out of the my YouTube reaction. I mean, I think I'm pretty sure I'm just going to give up trying to edit that and just upload the whole unedited version onto YouTube. I mean, you can. I mean, whether or not I decided to just completely give up on it. I mean, when you can definitely. I'm not certain, but I mean, if I do end up editing, you can see the unedited version. But yeah, I've gone through the episode and seen, okay, what can I edit out and all that. And this is one I've been trying to edit out 40 seconds and all that since, and I didn't really talk over this part. Although I think I'll talk about it now. I don't see the purpose of this scene. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the dog mouth doesn't get burned. It's supposed that some colonists, I thought about maybe burning the ship or something, but that didn't really happen. I don't know why the purpose of that scene doesn't really affect the plot at all. Not particularly historically accurate. Uh, kind of pointless.
It's time for us to band together as sons of patriots.
Yep. Let's see. Now, another thing that I've learned from watching a bit of the Benjamin Franklin documentary. Okay, let's see. So now, where does he sit?
Now, what do you have to say about
My apologies. I thought you were here to kidnap me.
kidnap? I'm a journalist for the Pennsylvania Gazette. Now, what do you have to say about the tax protest?
Is that what this is about? Disgraceful. The tea is private property. This is.
She's so annoying. Man, it's just real annoying personality. Yeah, man. I wonder what she would probably say. If somebody were to, just destroy some of, break into an Amazon warehouse and destroy some of the stuff that Amazon is like selling and all that. I mean, if you were in the modern era and all that, but it was certainly similar and all that. I'm sure on one hand, it is private property, so destroying private property is definitely illegal. What they're doing is illegal, but yeah. On one hand, I kind of get where he's coming from, but on the other hand, she annoys me. She greatly annoys me. I mean, honestly, especially since the East India Trading Company, it's one of the most evil companies in the history of the planet and all that. I don't really feel bad about this super mega corporation losing money and all that. Like, I'm not losing it. I mean, seriously, it's just just screw that company. Like, I don't sympathize with major corporations, especially rather immoral ones. I mean, seriously, I just gotta say, the East India Company, it's as big, it's as evil as like Nestle and all that. Yeah, this is the company that conquered India and all that. Had their own private army and basically just overthrew governments and all that. So in India, so honestly, if they don't, as far as I'm concerned, if they don't really respect the legal sovereignty of nations, then they don't really deserve for people to respect their property and all that. Like, the East India Company, they do not respect the ownership of other people. So honestly, just this company is definitely getting what it deserved. It got what it deserved. In other words, is losing a bunch of money, having like a bunch of its property destroyed and all that. Like, yeah. So yeah, on one hand, well, what they're doing is illegal. I don't know. I guess I kind of view it almost the same way I view piracy. Like, I'm not openly advocating it. I don't necessarily support it exactly, but if somebody does it, I'm not going to make a big deal about it. Out of it. Yeah, just because. Yeah, I just don't like the company and all that. Like, yeah, they're doing a bad thing, but it's kind of hard to be upset if the bad thing's happening to a bad person. Like, yeah, that's just all I have to say. And all that, so just, like, just the posh, upper-class attitude that Sarah Phillips is, just showing it. It's definitely very annoying and all that. Like, yeah. And like, tell me you haven't grown up rich without telling me you haven't grown up rich. Yeah.
Country. And you can quote me on that, Mr. What is your name?
Hiller. James Hiller. And who would I be quoting?
Whom may I be quoting? If you're going to write for a newspaper, you really should treat words with more care.
Just tell me your name, will you? I have work to do.
Phillips. Miss Sarah Phillips of London, England.
Sarahphphi. Sarah Phillips? You're Sarah Phillips?
Gonna be honest. Toy. Effing toy. This person is a toy. I gotta say, no. Sometimes I'm a little surprised that the toys are still around. Considering, other times they've messed up. Ugh, man. Yeah. No, definitely not the biggest fan of Toy and all that. The Tories were the people in control of Parliament when all this was going down and all that. Yeah. So yeah, Yeah, the Tories are definitely largely responsible for all the chaos that that happened during this time period.
And I'll thank you to stop shouting, Mr. Hiller. I've had a very rude welcome to America, and you're not making things any better.
We've been looking for you.
Have you? And why is that?
Benjamin Franklin sent us.
Dr. Franklin sent you?
Now who's yelling?
Redcoats! Ship! Of here. Where is... Come on, the red...
No, I don't know if the redcoats, showed up. At all during the actual Boston Tea Party, but I mean, yeah, whatever. I mean, honestly, yeah.
Miss Phillips, I presume. Thank goodness we found you.
If we're caught by those soldiers, we'll be thrown in jail.
Which, in my opinion, is exactly where traitors... Let me...
But Dr. Franklin told us to take care of you.
James, look out!
Men, stop them immediately!
Whoa!
Is everyone okay?
That was fun.
What a story.
Not out of the woods yet.
Help!
Are you crazy?
British?
Right now, those soldiers think we're wrong place at the wrong time. The wagon's over there. Let's go. Keep down. The redcoats will...
You...
I know that.
Or... You don't have this...
Yes. There's slave she's paid not after my first visit. The Wheatleys have... The Wheatleys...
Before someone sees...
Where the action is.
Make...
That's now where is the part where she,
It's outrageous. Am I the only one who sees this? Those...
Okay, yeah, this is part where she talks about slavery. Okay, perhaps I must have missed it a bit earlier. Okay, I think I'll just pause while I try to find. Alright, I found the spot.
The redcoats will recognize you three, but I'll just be another faceless servant.
Even if you don't like the laws, you can't just ignore them. That will lead to chaos.
But what if the law is unjust?
Parliament would never pass an unjust law.
Oh, shut the heck up. Ugh. I gotta say, she's definitely very annoying at this episode.
But they have. I interviewed the men tonight. The colonies must pay taxes to the king, but we have no voice in Parliament. Does that sound fair to you?
I don't know what to think.
I don't know what to think. My opinions come from other people.
I only know Ben Franklin would hardly approve of what went on tonight.
Then you don't know Ben Franklin.
Quick!
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, James does have a good point. I mean, after I know Benjamin Franklin has protested against the Stamp Act and various other, tax acts in the past and all that. It's just absurd, already. I know that, like, I mean, yeah, I mean, well, but in England is definitely not as extreme as Samuel Adams. He definitely does not approve of what Parliament is doing and all that. Of course, at the moment he definitely well, I don't know at the exact moment in time, but at very sometime before this, he definitely did seek the idea of compromise and all that. He was a supporter of the empire. Being together and all that. I mean, it wasn't a supporter of American independence at first, of course. Later on, he definitely began to support it. In fact, honestly, I really ought to just finish this documentary here and all that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I guess yeah, that's all I gotta say. Oh, except for one more thing. One thing in the episode here, about.
I'm proud to have a brave explorer as my father. I wear his locket always. We'll all be reunited on the wonderful land he is sure to discover. I shall be true to my word and write every day. Your loving... delicious anticipation of the new life which awaits Father and me in the colonies. I look forward to settling in Dr. Franklin's home in Philadelphia and long to see Father again when he returns from the wilderness. Father and me... Dearest Mother, I can hardly believe it's been a fortnight since I bade you all farewell. I miss you terribly, yet my heart is also filled with delicious anticipation.
Like I said, so I don't think it mentions it here. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's what she mentioned it towards the end here.
So we can be a family again. I pray you are safe. I pray you will return from the West so we can be a family again. My locket! It's got...
Good night, all.
Father, I pray you are safe. I pray it... Dearest Mother, so much has happened since I have arrived. I barely know where to start. I'm so confused. These Americans speak of liberty and freedom, hope that everything will be all right once Dr. Franklin arrives. Their own. I only hope that everything will be all right once Dr. Franklin arrives. And I trust that all is well with him.
Dear Sarah.
Okay, let's see. I can't... Lucy mentioned something about the Ohio territory, that her father is, exploring the Ohio territory. I can't seem to exactly find the spot, but, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, that does make me question something, because, I mean, around this time, like another, grievance the colonists had with the British government, particularly the king, was, the fact that the king basically, said that the colonists weren't allowed to expand beyond a certain area. Let's see, what was it? Yes, the Royal Proclamation of 1763. So yeah, this came straight from the king, and yeah, okay. Let's follow the to the Paris. So yeah, the proclamation, at least temporarily, forbade all new settlements west of a line drawn along the Appalachian Mountains. And I mean, if what I heard was correct about his father being exploring new territory in Ohio, I mean, that doesn't exactly make sense, because I mean, that is should be Indian Reserve. That. So I mean, if also, it probably means that her family is definitely not in support of the Royal Proclamation and all that, since you can't exactly out on a place and that you're not allowed to, and all that. So yeah, that's definitely somewhat questionable. Guys, the character of Sir Phillips does not strike me as very intelligent here. I mean, I guess in all fairness, he is, I guess, still a kid and all that. I don't know exactly how old she is. I think she's about 16. Yeah, right here. Yeah, around yeah, say around somewhere between 14 and 16 and all that. Yeah, well, yeah, somewhere between that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, probably like 15 or 16 or something. But yeah, she's definitely in her mid to late teens here, and but yeah, I mean honestly, she definitely doesn't strike me as the most informed at the very least. But yeah, I mean honestly, guess that's all I gotta say. Yep. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I don't know if I'll do similar videos for future, episodes or not. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you will check out the my reaction to episode 2, which should get uploaded on the 9th of February. So yeah, check out when it comes out and all that. Of course, you could also check it out right now on my Patreon and all that. So yeah, you can also do that. Anyway, I guess have a good day and goodbye.